Football by decade, 1980s. However, following the wonderful array of talent and competition in Brazil, it is time to look into yet another decade of intrigue and inspiration. After the 1970s had brought some of the greatest players, teams and matches to the forefront of football debate, the 1980s would further promote. We are almost at the end of our journey through the 20th century in terms of football history, from the British pre-war sporting dominance to the 1970s, a decade. The 1980s were to still offer a period of 10 years which produced the likes of Diego Maradona, Michel Platini, and some of the greatest club sides of all time like Bob Paisley's. As always, we'll begin with England and the last complete decade of the Football League. Liverpool and Nottingham Forest had began to create genuine footballing dynasties in England and in the European Cup. English football's love affair with the European Cup would come to a tragic end in 1985 with the Azelles Stadium disaster. As far as domestic English football was concerned, the 1980s saw a number of key events. Liverpool were still the dominant force in the Football League, winning 6 titles, the last 2 under the stewardship of former player Kenny Dalglish. The Hillsborough disaster in 1989 remains the worst ever British stadium-related disaster in history. 96 fans lost their lives at a FA Cup semi-final in Sheffield. For over 20 years, Liverpool fans were held responsible for causing the crush with newspapers like. Recently it has been confirmed that no supporters were to blame, with a number of apologies being made from David Cameron. As always, we like to look into Welsh football and the trials and tribulations of Cardiff and Swansea City. Both clubs started the decade in Division 2, before Swansea gained promotion in 1981 thanks in part to player-manager John Toshak. From 1978 to 1981, the Jacks managed to journey from the 4th tier of the Football League to Division 1, a 4-year period which still to this day remains a league record. By 1986, Swansea City were back in the old Division 4. Cardiff City were also relegated to the basement of the Football League that season, resulting in perhaps the worst ever 10 years for Welsh sport. Domestically, it was Hamburg and Bayern who dominated the era, with Hamburg winning the European Cup in 1983. Spanish football also stumbled through the decade. After playing host to the 1982 World Cup, the domestic honors were once more in the favor of Real Madrid, with the Castilian club winning 6 titles, including 5 in a row, 1986-90. Real Sociedad, Athletic Bilbao and Barcelona also shared titles between 1981-85 before the dominance of Madrid. Finally on to Italy, a nation which enjoyed perhaps its greatest ever decade, winning the World Cup in 1982. Serie A played host to a number of the greatest ever players. Michel Platini, Diego Maradona and Marco van Basten all featured in an era which truly was golden. From back to front, the side was what dreams are made of: Maldini, Baresi, Gullit, Van Basten and Rijkaard, just a number of those to represent the Rossoneri of the period. Being a Liverpool fan, I was tempted by the Merseyside Derby Cup final in 1986, as well as the more obvious choices like Italy 3-2 Brazil and Argentina 2-1 England. Instead, I am going to choose Netherlands 2-0 USSR in the 1988 European Championships. It seems almost criminal to discuss the 1980s without mentioning Van Basten, with his goal leading to Holland's first and only major trophy in a tightly fought final in Munich. So there we have it, another decade which offered dizzying highs and tragic lows. Football was the game which represented more than just what was seen on the pitch. From Merseyside to Berlin, the sport had become political and a symbol of numerous societies across the globe.